most of the people, you can see this slide, used to deploy everything on premises. This is how you need to deploy network, storage, server, VMware, application, etc. And you have to manage. Whether you are running a pharma industry, whether you are running a manufacturing industry, you need to do all the things on your own. That is basically reducing the focus towards the what we call as the core competency of the business, what they are doing. Nowadays, they can focus and they can even reduce their expenses. That is one basic advantage in cloud. They can reduce. People often say that when they deploy into cloud, they often see within 2 or 3 years about 30% to 40% savings in the overall market. So yes, depending on the requirements, some people go towards some projects go towards this infrastructure as a cloud, where you have your server, storage, network is completely deployed in the data center. What you need to know is only just deploy a kind of operating system or a virtualized machine and then deploy your application, etc. in this infrastructure as service. Whereas in platform, yes, there are many services also, especially in AWS and Azure. You see all these kind of technologies like infrastructure, platform, and software service also accordingly. So here in platform, you just deploy all the server and you also have the operating system. You just deploy your what we call as the application and deploy the code. In software as service, you don't really require nothing. You really require nothing. Just deploy your code or you upload your code or a website or web deployment, anything, and then just start running within few minutes. All you need to know is that you just have to have your the final outcome. So this is also one of the big advantages why people really no need to worry about the behind infrastructure, whether it is server or whether it is application, so not your this platform or application, anything. So it is completely taken care by the cloud providers. This is one of the biggest advantage. So all this time I'm speaking about the advantages. I'll also speak about this the terminology which you used in the cloud. This is as per the NIST. So please understand this one. NIST is nothing but National Institute of, what we call as software technologies, or no, it's basically this overall what we call as technological definitions, where they only publish all kind of what we call as the rules and regulations, whatever you can say. So this is all the simple thing. I wish to say cloud providers, I already spoke about that. You can see about this cloud auditors. This is the most important terminology which I'm going to speak today. That is your security, especially in this area. Cloud consumers are we. So this cloud auditors means that they see that as per the prescriptions provided or as per the prescriptions provided by the client, are these things running across? Or is there something which is given over? Or is this underlying resources which is not performing well? Everything is figured out in this auditing section. You see this, it's not only related to your security, privacy, confidentiality, maybe like you can say about availability, all these things kind of measures which will be taken care by this quality team, quality auditor. Okay, and also you see this security and privacy are the important concerns what customers are really lacking today. So we will be focusing about this particular model, I mean, especially related to security in the next few slides. Okay, so this is the definitions which already I spoke about this particular one. So now I'll just figure out some models also. Please understand this one. Not only, so we spoke about IAS, PAS and SAS. Okay, keep those things aside. Now we need to understand about public, private and hybrid clouds more. What does that mean? So anything which you host across an internet, I mean, which is for public use, we call as deployment is public cloud. So today, most of your development work or most of your deployment work is happening towards the private. Private means that it is within your organization. Most of you, whoever joins in the organizations, they use only the private, what we call as a networking concept. So this private cloud also defines the infrastructure only within the organization only. It will not go beyond your organization. So how to deploy these things? Especially in an organization, there can be several type of people, and several type of people accessing several type of data. So this private cloud will define which can be operated in a secured environment, even though you have number of organizations across. Maybe you call it subnets, maybe you call us maybe routing tables or anything. See, all this infrastructure is deployed in the private cloud. And hybrid, one basic question where everyone will ask is that, sir, I already have something which I had deployed in my own traditional center. So if you ask me to deploy into cloud, so what should I do with the existing infrastructure? The answer is very simple. Go to hybrid. You retain your infrastructure hybrid. Whatever are the new things which are coming, or whatever are the things, old things which you want to lapse it, you have to have an enhancement in the cloud. You can have it enhancements. So this is called as a hybrid. I mean, the things like on-site and the cloud, if you have a communication, believe me, this is one of the biggest challenges, especially for the security, because you know that there can be some traditional deployments which has happened earlier, and now you are deploying certain things in the cloud. If you try to establish a gateway connectivity or something like that, so that on-site people communicate with the cloud and the applications communicating between these two, both should have a similar security arrangements done. So if there are any vulnerabilities figured out in your local, what we call as in-house, your data center or whatever it is, this will also reflect over there. But the good thing is that like the top service providers like cloud, like Amazon or Azure or so and so, what they have done is that they came up with the best practices. They educate more or less, they train the clients also to use a kind of, maybe you can say as a template, or you can say as a model, or you can also say as something like which is a maturity which comes across, so that they can also enhance more and more secure features, even though whenever they are even communicating with different type of cloud models like hybrid cloud, or sometimes it can be a community cloud, sometimes it can be a multi-cloud also. Okay, so I'm only just giving the challenges before you, and now later on I'll address all these things also as form of your security presentation. So now I'll also give some briefing about the technology. Please remember, technology is the fundamental pillar for everyone in order to understand the cloud. See, in cloud, you see nothing because everything is virtual. Only thing is the technology is really, really defining. So I'll explain about certain things. Cloud already I explained, anything which you deploy like infrastructure or a software. I mean, your platform or a software which you deploy across the cloud. I mean, see, cloud is nothing but it's a remote location where, like, if I take as a reference like Amazon, it can be Mumbai or it can be Hyderabad or it can be in North Virginia or California, whatever it is. You deploy the infrastructure over there in a sophisticated environment where you have continuous monitoring, continuous, I mean, availability with all availability, secure model, and also even if there is a what we call as a earthquake or something like that, the total proof will be there, so that your business can be rest guaranteed with terminology called as high availability X. So now within the cloud itself, we are moving towards the advanced areas. So this is for some of the people who are aware of the cloud essentials and fundamentals. And this technology, which I'm giving you something in brief, is called as microservices. This is the buzzword which often people are coming through nowadays. So this is containers. So people often ask, sir, what is containers, or why we should use containers, and why, in what way this will be helpful. Like I'll tell you, it is very simple. Container is very simple. Earlier, the deployment is totally done by, I mean, like your devices like virtualization or devices like images, etc. is done everything by the cloud service providers. But here, what we can do is that we can again define, instead of having 10 small pieces, if you buy one big piece and divide into small, your price again will be reduced, so that your performance also will grow very well. It is very simple. A container is a package or an application, including its dependencies such as libraries, configuration files, binaries, and other resources that can run independently in a cloud environment. Container as a service. Maybe today is very new for all of you, but after 3, 4 years, you'll see that if you are a cloud professional, you should know about this microservices, which is called as a container. because people often see that additional 20 to 25% of savings which are coming across because of this virtualization service. Because of this virtual. Earlier, this virtualization service has different pieces, but every piece used to have a different, again, an operating system driven. But in containers, you don't require anything. You have 10 pieces or 15 pieces or 25 pieces within your large box, and then all these 15 pieces can be governed by a single operating system, so that whatever the virtualization really happens, and it is completely isolated, I mean orchestrated to the needs of the clients. So one container can have 2 GB RAM with a specification, maybe a web server. Another container can have you can have maybe a SAP deployment. Another container, a mail deployment. Another container, you can have something like Java development, something like that. And one box is enough. One big box is enough. You can differentiate accordingly. And in this way, there is a huge, I mean, security benefit, and also easy to manage. Easy to manage. That is called as configuration. So these all benefits you get, especially when you are deploying as a container. Container as a service. This is the new one which is coming. So I'll just differentiate between container and a virtualized machines. Most of you are aware of this virtualized machine. The technology is very simple. I tell you, in this, the infrastructure is both the same, a large system or a small system or whatever it is. Like in the data centers, if you go, there are a kind of servers. Okay, servers are of high range servers, mid range servers, and a kind of blade servers, something like that. Blade or entry level servers. If you take up a high range servers, what you can do is that you take up one of the server, you can slice it into pieces. This is one slice, second slice, third slice. So in virtual machines, what is that? The hypervisor is playing the role. Hypervisor takes care of the advantage of this one. And also, even though it is slicing, but the biggest drawback is that every slice has an operating system. Here, you see this one. Every slice has an operating system. This is eating away a lot of resources across each and every slice. But in your container, it's not like that. So you have the container engine where you don't really require this guest operating system or operating system in every slice. It is maintained and managed by the container itself. That is the big advantage. So that you have more resources available. With the same system, you are having more resources. I mean that is called as, that's why I said that about 20 to 25% advantage you'll get. You'll get more resource. Here for the application, if I say, if you are taken 4 GB memory, application may get about 1 GB of memory or 1.5 or 2 GB of memory. Here you get the complete 4 GB of memory. So that is the big advantage. Not only that, your operating system uses, I mean 20, 25 or 40 GB of memory, hard disk space. Here you don't have anything because you don't have, the engine will take care of everything. So this is, and easy to manage also, easy to manage. The resources can also be what we call as dynamically configured. Suppose if this operating system is not in use, it's not in use here, or the resources, maybe the CPU is not in use, you can dynamically allocate to others also. So that if this application is strongly running and requires more, then you can make use dynamically. And once this requires, then automatically it can be switched out. So this is one of the biggest advantage in the containers. Okay, so also this Dockers also. The biggest advantage in this container, like I said, that container engine manages the complete things. So the container engine, one of the type is your Docker. Docker is considered as a engine for especially what we call as for creating the images, also for managing the containers. You see this one, the Docker has a responsibility. The Docker has a daemon, means is a service which responsible for managing the containers complete. It's the engine. And also this also helps you in creating the images. So once the images are there, if any user wants to run a website or a web engine or a web development, he can make use of this image and he can run instantaneously. If he doesn't want, he can relieve that. No, he wants something to do on some other deployment like mail deployment, or maybe some other deployment like PHP, something like that. So he uploads the code, he uses the container, I mean the image, he just finish off his running and he releases back. So in this way, this Dockers also play a very important. And Dockers why are considered as more and more important because of the open source technology, because of open source used for developing, packing, and running applications and all its dependencies in the form of containers to ensure the application. See, these are the new generation elements which you will be facing inside the Dockers, inside the what we call as cloud. Okay, so that's why I'm giving highlight of this particular thing so that you can easily understand it at a later stage. So now this is also another one which is going on, which is Kubernetes. Okay, there is a Kubernetes master. There are kubelets. You can see here many kubelets are there. So this is a kind of cluster architecture. So, and again, I tell you, whether it is a Docker, you see it's an open source technology. You need not pay anything for the license. You need not pay. Similarly, here also Kubernetes is also an open source, portable, extensible orchestration platform developed by Google for managing containerized applications and microservices. So what does this Kubernetes do? You have a Kubernetes master, you have a manager, you have a server here, you have a server. So what you can do, whatever configurations you define here in this Kubernetes master, so you want to deploy something like maybe a web deployment or maybe a common deployment to almost all your kubelets, or you can define. So the languages which we use in Kubernetes, etc., or something like related to Ansible or JSON, mostly they use Ansible. Okay, so Ansible is derived from Python. Okay, so very easy. I mean, it's not very tough. You don't have hi-fi programming language. Human readable languages, human readable. So easy to deploy. Just like people often say that you can just write a playbook, just deploy that. Automatically, once the playbook is run using your SSH or secure communication, it deploys the code to all your kubelets which are defined across. Like your Puppet, okay, this Kubernetes also will be very much managing your distributed containers, maybe performing. Even if you can say that if this kubelet is failure, you can again take up, so that it's like a cluster kind of thing. See that most of the applications are always available at any point of time. Okay, so you can have a failovers if any server or any location. See, every server can be located in different areas. Not all the areas can really have failures. So if one server is still failure, the other servers can take care. This is how the cluster architecture really defines this particular one in this Kubernetes. Okay, I'm just giving only the highlights. The most of the things are part of your DevOps also. Okay, so now the next important thing. This is serverless computing. So people often ask, what is this serverless? How can we do a compute without a server? Yes, the answer is yes. So today we are in this domain. Like, why should I own a server? Why should I own a server? When, if I want to deploy a PHP program, which can do some kind of activities in background. So what should I do? So should I own a server? And should I do all these things with the server? So you are not only paying for the deployment, you are also paying for the server. You are also paying for the license. You are also paying for the maintenance. Many things you are virtually doing things. Okay, so today, like people like Amazon or Azure, what they are managing huge pool of servers. One for PHP, one for Node.js, one for pool of servers. Okay, this is software as a service, I tell you. So one for maybe Python. So all you need is only very simple. You can just what you can upload your code into a predefined location. It will occupy some amount of memory. Maybe like if I say a small, if you have about 30 or 40 lines, or maybe 100 lines or 200 lines, whatever is depending on the size of the code, you can basically access, the amount of memory, 128 MB or 256 MB or maybe 512 MB, like that. So you only pay for that. And you only pay for the usage time, not for the owning time of all the system and licensing all this thing. So this is especially highly benefit, especially in the serverless computing. We also call this as a Lambda. You can see this is a cloud-based application architecture where application infrastructure and supporting services are provided by the cloud vendor. Everything is managed by the cloud vendor only. All you need is that you just upload your code. That simplifies the process. You don't really need to worry about the other things, whether the server is patched, whether the server has taken backup, yes or no, whether my server is functioning properly without anything, whether my server is having virus, whether my server is functioning without any bottlenecks. I mean that the server may go for a crash, etc. Nothing like that. It is highly scalable, especially in the serverless computing. You already use Amazon or maybe even in what we call as Azure or even Oracle. Even I see in what we call as Google also. There are serverless computing methodologies. All they deploy is that is just for the user. He just uploads the code. That's all. He runs. Just he pays only very nominal amount only for the execution time. So that is not even coming into cents of money. So this is all about some technologies which are coming in the cloud aspect, which I was mentioning. And also this is one more area which is figuring out and it's very much like role of artificial intelligence in the cloud computing. Okay, so uh, can you speak more or any question? Yeah. Okay. I'm getting echo. Can the microphones can be kept in mute? If there is any question, I'll take up the question. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So this role of artificial intelligence is also very data sciences. The role of data sciences is coming. Yeah. So can I request others, all of you can keep in mute so that the echo will not come. Otherwise, my presentation will be not uniform. Okay. Thank you. So the thing is like the why I'm focusing on all these areas. These are the current technologies which are very helpful for all of you, especially in the areas of terminology. So this data sciences is also playing a very high requirement, especially in artificial intelligence. Okay, especially in this particular cloud technologies. Why? Because this role of artificial intelligence is basically reducing a lot of cost. What humans are doing now, the web robots are doing. I mean, the automated engines are basically there getting this done. That is reduced cost or seamless data management. So there is a huge data and huge data which is coming across. And when we streamline this data into which is called as improved, that will increase your productivity, reliability, and of course, we will also be focusing about this cloud security also. So this will also give you better decision making. Okay, so these are some of the advantages in artificial intelligence, especially in cloud computing. Okay, so now let me start with the cloud. Yeah, can I continue? Okay, okay, this is cloud security. So see, the things are highlighted here, very important. So what customers really focus, especially in the form of security, is one is their data protection. Data protection, availability. Please take it for sure. So yes, I mean the relevant people only should access the relevant applications only. That's all. It's not that all organizations are members of a particular organization, so all of them should get all the access. No, it's not that. If that is the case, then you are vulnerable. I mean that. So that is why customers always consider that data protection. People often say one more thing also. I'll tell you is the thing that so the what happens if there is no security? What happens if there is no security? People will say, some members will outsiders will come and hack the data. Okay, is that's all is the only thing which happens? No, that is a part of that. Outsiders coming and hacking your data and then spoiling your business. What about insiders? Insiders also are culprits. There are many people. If the data is not secure, even your, I mean, the deployments like whether it is a hybrid deployment or whether it is an inside, I mean, private cloud deployments also needs to have a high security. So here the key elements which you need to know is the data protection to be considered as protected. I mean, one customer or one individual, a person who is responsible maybe for a human resources should get the data, relevant data related to human resources only. He should not get the data related to engineering, or engineering person should not get data something related to tender documentation. So if anything happens like that within the organization also, then this is called as vulnerability. Anything which is given much beyond the access to a particular department or a person or within a division or within a customer, this is called as data. And the bottom line for this particular one is data protection. And also this identity management is one of the tool which is given inside your cloud service providers. I mean that where you can, everyone, every enterprise can create the relevant users or groups, or you can attach your policies. Policies are nothing but permissions. So an administrator should be strong enough to understand about the permissions of the policies first before entering or learning, defining the activities inside the cloud. Not only that, we need to understand the roles also. So all these things comes under this identity management. Certain times I tell you, you need to secure maybe a double method. Means double method that only password? No, it can be even secured with like your what we call as multi-factor authentication, because sometimes the passwords may be stolen. So you need to have some dynamic passwords that is called as multi-factor authentication. So if this kind of things are there, then you can have a better identity management. Security will be there. Otherwise, there is no control to the aspect which is there. So not only that, you see this, I have bulleted out some of the things like data protection, identity management, application security. Every application needs to be have its own, like I was showing you the slices, same thing here also. Everything should be isolated. Application should be available at any point of time when the user really access. Suppose I want to buy something from Amazon.in. If the application is down, I'll not buy. I'll go to a different vendor. That's all. That is enough. That is enough. He's losing business. So this availability also is an important factor in security. Three factors available are very, very important in security. I tell you, one is the confidentiality. The second one is integrity. Integrity means the reliability. Okay, whenever reliability, the data which you access should be genuine. And the third one is your availability. So these three things are very, very pillars of your security. And also your privacy. Data privacy. Providers ensure that all critical data are masked. Okay, very, very important. You see this, this is also a part of your confidentiality, as I mentioned. Like a manager should get the data related to his responsibility only. The data should not be shared none others than to their respective role. Okay, suppose if I say that a student's accessing corporate management's data, it is a high risk. It's a high risk that organization will not work for more long. Okay, because the data is getting leaked. So security is very, very essential. So this is all about in this security. So I spoke about this availability, reliability. Reliability is nothing but your integrity. Integrity means whether the data which you have is genuine or not. So there are number of threats here, number of threats. I may not read out all the things. See, these are all the threats. Threats means potential damage. A damage can happen. Data breach, insecure interfaces, shared technology issues. Certain times technologies are shared. Risk, unknown risk profile, unsynchronized system clocks. So you create a transaction here, the transaction is punched over there, but the transaction is not recorded in your system, or the recorded is not recorded in the server. You make a double transaction. So these things are there if the synchronization of clocks doesn't happen. So, okay, I'll read out some important things like maybe malicious insiders. See, this word malicious is very, very dangerous. I tell you, malicious means something which is really creating a damage to the system, is anything which is vulnerable. I mean, the code which we write should be genuine enough, should take care, it should do some responsible activities. I give a small, understanding for all of you. Most of us use lot of websites. So I'll tell you, many websites has a guest column. Share your photograph, share your pictures, or share your resume, share your photo. I mean, like that, you upload many things. So I'm just defining you all what is malicious. So how hacking also happens, how threats can also be big danger. So people write the code simply so that users upload their code, etc. directly, thinking that all the genuine code is coming. What happens? What happens? If a rogue who is there, he basically creates a Trojan, right? The Trojan basically he uploads into the server. Now the Trojan sits inside the server, in the application server. What happens now? Once the code is executed, the server is hacked. So where is the what we call as verification done? There is no verification. If there is no verification done for the uploading of any, he will rename that Trojan into a form of a JPG or something, and then he will upload. Finished. So people often think that, oh, yes, like this, I didn't think about that. So this is called as malicious code, malicious insiders. People often play like that, and then they try to attack the servers. Once the server is attacked, the web server is in the hands of the culprits, so that their entire business, forget about revenues, the reputation also go away. Once the reputation goes bad, I tell you, the customers, retaining customers is very, very tough job. So they have to really, really close the business also. This is called as malicious insiders. People often play a lot, especially in the malicious codes. Illegal access to cloud systems. Whenever there is a, oh, we have not performed this kind of activities. If you don't do that, then goes to a threat. It goes to a threat. You will be losing a lot of business. Privilege escalations, failures, I mean supply chain failures, modifying the network traffic. You are giving unwanted traffic which you are allowing inside to the system, like port number 23, port number what we call as 110, port number 21 FTP. All these ports are vulnerable, ports are open. So people often go inside and then do any kind of attacks like this. So loss of governance, loss of encryption keys. So yes, the how we should stop all these things is that we need to have a proper security plan, proper, like where you can have a thorough scan of all the vulnerabilities, a thorough scan, or even the data when it is rest. You should ensure that there should be some strategies, like you should follow some key management system, like what we call it encryption and decryption methodologies. Like that, if you have a plan, proper plan, then your data is supposed to be secure. I'll also figure out what are all the attacks which happen across if we don't follow these things. So this is actually a template which is from OWASP. OWASP is nothing but Open Web Application Security Project. Especially this is the OWASP.org. What they have to do, this is our organization. The top 10 cloud risks basically which are happening even till today also, So the accountability, that is the biggest drawback, especially in today's what we call as cloud. So if you, this is especially in the public cloud, which can cause a severe risk, because when some damage happens in a public cloud, who is going to take the responsibility? Is this the service provider? Is this someone else? Who is going to take up the responsibility? This accountability. So accountability is much higher than the responsibility. So also, I'll also tell you the regulatory compliance. Regulations means that there can be different type of business units. There can be, like I'll tell you, if I'm doing a business related to payment card industry. I mean like a credit cards or debit cards, or maybe doing a business related to share market, or related to insurance, or related to something like that. So I need to follow, there should be some guidelines. If I create a web service without any guidelines, what will happen? The market which are interrelated to me will also get affected. So there should be a regulatory compliance. I mean that there is a PCI compliance, there is a HIPAA, there is an IRDA, something like that compliance will be there. So we have to follow the norms which are regulated. These are the top risks. Many people don't do that. So that's why these are great risks. So sometimes this business, or if they figure out, if this is this been figured out, these organizations are just will be stopped doing the business in the global enterprise areas. But nowadays we have much maturities coming across. Even though there are risks, especially in the startup companies, we see a lot of risks going on in this particular one. But when it comes to the production, all these things are normalized. This is only a kind of education where one should know about that these kind of things which will be there, and we need to take care of all these kind of risks which are there. So you see this user privacy and secondary usage of data. So not only that, the top 10 I have given, you see service and data integration, you see multi-tenancy and physical security. Physical security is sometimes you deploy a server in Amazon. Do you know who is taking care of the security? Physical security, we don't know anything. We just deploy a server. If someone enters a mass of about 50 or 100 members, they attack the physical security and they enter into the data center. If they attack, or if they switch off the power, or if they damage the entire data center, what will happen? What will happen? So we doing business in some other continent or some other country, we may have to really see the loss. Who will take care? Who is going to account? So especially many providers, especially who are providing, especially at a large enterprise, they take care of all these things. They have many security measures taken care of. Forget about physical security, getting entered into the space, or maybe the security which is related to electronic OTP or anything, really entering into the server space is highly secure enough. We need to understand. That is called as infrastructure security. Okay, entering and accessing the vulnerabilities, etc., of your applications and services. So these are some of the top 10 cloud security risks which one can really think about it. Okay, so this word really looks funny basically, but it is very important. That is cloud hacking. So hacking, can we do it even in the cloud? Yes, why not? Wherever it is, whether it is the server, whether it is next to your home, or whether it is there in your what we call as in a public or a private place, or in a data center, or even in a cloud. If there are vulnerabilities, automatically some members will write a payload and they exploit the system. Whether the system or the server is basically running across the cloud. So what they do, they basically write. So some of you who are aware of this Kali Linux and aware of this what we call as vulnerabilities, especially which we call as CVE, common vulnerabilities, and what we call as exposures. So people often read those articles. Oh, there is a new vulnerability which has been come across for Android system. There is a new vulnerability which has come across in the cloud. So they use that type of technologies, and then before the customers really come to know, do a kind of penetration testing, these people will try to do an exploit. So that is the reason why this service providers inside the cloud, or whoever is managing the cloud infrastructure, needs to be strong enough to understand what vulnerabilities can really damage the system. Okay, thanks, because most of the cloud service providers now, they are taking the accountability of this kind of vulnerabilities at the data center level itself. They are reaching to the data to, reaching the vulnerabilities to the data level is something which is very tough. It's not impossible. I say it's not impossible. It is tough, because 95%, more than 95% of the vulnerability testing and also remedial actions, especially in the data center infrastructure, your region, your availability zone, or your catch centers, or even your networking, like your what we call as a web deployment, URLs, etc. Whatever you specify, whether it is a server or networking, all locations they thoroughly check from time to time. If they don't check, that's all. Okay, the ultimate damage happens over here. But these people really do that, The main objective of hacking of the cloud environment is to gain access to the user's data, blocking access to the service providers. So people may often ask, what will people gain if they hack the cloud? Well, there are a lot of things which they do. They gain their applications data. They also gain something which is called as a reputation. Okay, so they will give illicit cryptocurrency. They'll ask money also. Oh, hey, you pay me this much money, then only I'll open. Like you also saw about damages happened earlier also. Okay, crypto mining malwares. You pay this one. Perform DOS attacks. DOS is nothing but denial of service. I means that the server which you have deployed for, okay, those servers, the users cannot access that server. Server is running fine, everything fine. You go and test the server is running fine. But users can, well, when they are trying to access the website, it will say 404. The server is not available. What they do once, twice, thrice they do, because they are interested to buy the product, they will go and they search for others. This is called as denial of service attack. This is almost number one, especially in today's world. So that the competitor will gain business, the person who has advertised will not get the business. So this is a kind of cloud hacking. This is one of the advantage, what the profit which when you hack the things in the cloud. Okay, so now these are all the attacks. Now we are going core areas inside this. So what is an attack? Anything you directly launch inside your server or cloud infrastructure, this is called as an attack, which creates a potential damage. Please remember, which creates a potential damage. Anything which damages a system, a system, a system means like it can be infrastructure, software, or platform, anything. So this is called as an attack. So certain things which I mentioned just now is denial of service attack is one of the attack. Some of you might be familiar with attacks like cross-site scripting attack, or maybe SQL injection attack, or maybe what we call as attacks like injection attacks. Various kind of injection attacks are there, and some more attacks like CSRF, cross-site request, forgery attacks are there, etc., etc. These are all. So here in this cloud, you can see that the attacks can happen at the DNS level. That is called as DNS attack. Okay, session hijacking, social engineering. Social engineering. The term social engineering is very dangerous. I tell you, means that some people sitting next to you, they watch each and everything about you. They randomly play with you. Okay, randomly play with you. Suppose the person who is sitting next to you will watch secretly, watch what is your Gmail password, what is your FB password. He will not do any damage. You may not know also. He wants to take a cup of coffee with you, but still he'll watch everything. What are your keystrokes, like that? Social engineering. Some people go to the dustbins, what my boss has typed. So they can get some information, the scrapped or teared off papers, etc. They'll assemble all the things. Oh, this is what which is happening. Some people like they cross whenever the gates are open. So anything, this is all called as social engineering. Trying to get some like what we call as amateur people will write some memory resident programs. Like they try to get some passwords for Facebook or maybe Gmail, etc. Once the customer leaves, then again they work across. This is all social engineering. I tell you, these are very dangerous attacks. So like that session hijacking. So people often do this kind of attacks also, session hijack. What does they do? So he needs to be sound enough, technically sound enough. See, you all know that in the browser, the basically the connection between your browser from your client system to the server is basically in the form of cookies. Okay, the cookie. Once you have a transaction which you are happening, once you are having to the server, like it can be a business transaction or it can be a merchandise transaction, anything. So the cookies, the server plants a cookie inside your system. So an attacker basically will be watching all these transactions. Okay, will be watching all these transactions. He will try to steal the cookies online itself. Whenever the server is transmitting some data, they will steal the cookies. And once they have the cookies inside their desktop, you don't know from where he has the key. So he will start communicating on behalf of you. You don't know all those things. He will try to transfer money from your system from a different location. From your account, from a different location, it will be transferred out. This is very, very dangerous, I tell you. Cookie poisoning. So these things also can happen in cloud. Also can happen in the cloud. So you see, that is also called as man in the browser attack. Man in the browser means that within the browser a man is there. It's not man, it's basically the cookie stealing is called as the man in the browser attack. So you also have this cloud malware attacks. So the new softwares which are coming across, new software, we are all fancy. Oh, there is a new operating system, Windows 11 has come, or maybe PHP new version has come. Let me deploy that. But how many of we really read that article which is called as README? We don't read all those things. The known issues, unknown issues will be published over there. We don't really go through those things. We just deploy that. But how much of the new, any new softwares will have some kind of what we call as vulnerabilities which are listed out. Without knowing or without doing a software testing complete plan, we are not supposed to implement those things. So these things also happen a lot. So to name that, yes, you can see this denial of service attacks, account hijacking, user account compromise, cloud malware injection attacks, inside the threats. You can see this in cookie poisoning. This happens especially in man in the middle attack. Okay, this is quite common. Basically, I just logged in and I saw my account balance had just stolen away with 1 rupee only left. How did it happen? Already a person is there. He has that cookie, what it has been stolen. So that is one of the reason we are not supposed to do any kind of transactions, especially in the public computers. Public computers, we are supposed to do only in our local system. That too, please try to enable your two-factor authentication for all your transactions related to money. There should be a two-factor authentication. I mean that there is a dynamic password which should happen along with the cookies. If you provide that, then only the security will be improved. So also, yes, we have security misconfiguration, etc., all these kind of attacks which are prominently. I'll tell you some of the important ones. Server hijacking using social engineering. Server hijacking is nothing but, which I mentioned, that like is a non-technical intrusion that relies heavily on human interaction and often involves in tricking other people to break the normal security. So some people will watch the passwords next to you sitting across, they'll talk, they'll watch everything, they'll record all the things with the CC cameras, they'll project accordingly, they'll close up from the remote location what exactly you're typing, everything, they'll record everything, they'll watch once or twice, they'll get the password. So these are all some of the human interactions, how to get the passwords. So again, I tell you, we have to be very careful by typing the passwords. We should not see anyone or any devices also nearby. So the attacker might target the cloud service provider to reset the password. Someone will call you, sir, your account needs to be reset. So we will help you reset. Why? Because we need to get your income tax refund. So some messages you'll get. So ultimately, he will extract all the information from you. Okay, this is also called as social engineering. Some members will say that, sir, we have sent you an OTP, please send us the information. So once you are sent, finish. So other ways to obtain passwords is guessing, using key logging malwares. I spoke just a few minutes back. Password cracking techniques. You also have this dictionary attacks. You have even this kind of attacks where they send even phishing mails. Phishing is a terminology often used for server interpreting the wrong URLs, giving the genuine, it looks like a genuine site, but it's not genuine site. This phishing will take you into a wrong location. Or sometimes your DNS also is wrongly mapped. It will be taken to the wrong servers. All your websites, famous websites will look genuine, but it's not like that. A social engineering attacks. What is the result of social engineering? In exposing this customer data, credit card data, personal information, PII, we call as business plans, staff data, identity theft, etc. See, all these things are called as server hijacking. This is one of the attack which is there. Also, I'll tell you the remedies of how you can do. This is also called as sniffing. I'm fast forwarding this one, the same one which we saw, which you spoke. Sniffing is basically you are using some kind of tools like Wireshark, etc. You will capture all the traffic, etc. And then again you will be basically reassembling all the data. So this is called as sniffing, a kind of the attacker keeps track of all the data which is happening from the user to the cloud server. So he keeps a copy, even if it is what we call as encrypted also. Sometimes there are some encryption tools, decryption tools, okay, which will identify them using this type of attacking tools, like as I mentioned, dictionary attack or maybe something like that, where they assemble back all this kind of data. Okay, so you need to basically think about that these tools are very are also there. So now we will also focus on what to implement in the cloud server also later. So this is man in the MITC attacks also. I spoke about that MITC attacks. So between you and the server, you and the box, there is an attacker also. He will be having all the things. He will basically plant all the cookies. Basically, he will have a copy of the cookies. He will try to do on behalf of you. This is as simple as that, MITC. And crypto jacking. So yes, it happened also many times. Like crypto jacking means that someone will hack your servers or maybe your systems, very important systems. Like it can be your as easy as your Windows system also. So what happens in this crypto jacking? If you want to log in, it will be locked. Your system will be locked. No one can access that server. So or your system. If you want to access, he will say that pay money. So this is very dangerous, very dangerous. So this is crypto jacking. It's an unauthorized use of victim's computer to stealthily mine a digital currency like bitcoins. They'll ask, oh, pay for 1 Bitcoin or at least so and so like that. If you want, we are giving 2 days time. So are highly lucrative in which both external attackers and rogue inside. Okay. Yeah. So this is one. And also, I tell you, there are many other type of attacks also. I'm just summarizing the compromising this IAM credentials. IAM is nothing but identity and access management credentials. You see this repository misconfiguration. So that is the reason the administrators, whoever is playing a very important role inside the cloud administration, like they need to work across like social engineering. We spoke about that. Password reuse. Okay. We are not supposed to use the same passwords again and again. So that is the reason we have this password complexities also implemented, and also a password policy also needs to be implemented. So some people just bypass all those things, saying that, oh, why should they remember, why should they change every 1 month password? So if they don't change, their account can be vulnerable. Account can be vulnerable, like exploiting the third-party softwares, insider threat, etc. Are all things which are there. Now, if you ask me about what are all that kind of tools which are there, just like we have antivirus tools inside our system, even in the cloud servers or whatever it is, we have various kind of tools. Like you have this Trivi, okay, DATGA to scan identity vulnerable. But most of the vulnerability tools are today, like even if I say about in Amazon, we have a vulnerability tool called as Inspector, okay, which identifies vulnerability in your for all your compute related servers. So S3 scanner is also there to identify any open S3 buckets. And also today we have trusted services also. Trusted services will identify each and every. Not only that, we have Acunetics, we have Nessus from Tenable, etc. This cloud related vulnerability scanning tools. But inbuilt scanning tools are very powerful compared to external tools also. So what they do periodically, maybe once in every 15 days or maybe 15 months, there are some certain type of scannings. Basic scan can even be performed every 15 minutes once also, and provides any immediate results to, or even it can throw you an alert to your mobile phone. Hey, some vulnerability happened on so and so system. This is for your information. Please take action accordingly, like this red, orange, yellow, green, like that. So informational alerts, high threat alerts. I'll be showing a demonstration on Amazon Inspector also very soon. Yeah, there are again some more tools like this. You can see this particular one. CCAT is also there, exploiting Docker containers on AWS using CCAT, Cloud Container Attack Tool. Okay, so this is also one more Docker containers tool where this and also you see AWS Access is using dumpster diver like that. These are some of the tools, and also you see Docker scan is also one of the tool which helps you, which will tell you what are all the Dockers which helping tool that allows attackers to perform various kind of malicious activities. They'll see various containers will be available, various containers, And some people will deploy a container just like that without any proper what we call as guidelines. So if they attack one of the container, they basically they go into the engine basically. If they go into the engine, they can attack the entire. So initially I have shown you in this Dockers, there are various containers, slice 1, slice 2, slice 3. If the slice 2 is not properly, if it has vulnerability, there is a possibility that the attacker may log in into what we call as to that particular what we call as the container, and from there he will try to attack the engine itself. If somehow if he is able to gain access to the engine, all the containers which are there are totally lost, are in the victim's hands. So it is a so this Docker scan will help you. If there are any containers which are vulnerable, it will tell, basic identification will be tell, which will be identified accordingly. Right, these are some of the important terminology which you should know, everyone, especially as part of cloud security. Like, see, there is a 7-layer as we have in our network layers. Here also we have application, we have software development, I mean a life cycle, SDLC, CI/CD is also the answer. Yeah, you have basically the other web application firewalls. You have something like scanners also, which are there. Informational, data loss prevention, CMF, and of course your activity monitoring. Encryptions is also some of the methodologies you can implement, especially in the management. You can see this patch management, configuration management, all these things. IAM is identity and access management. Okay, so this monitoring means that continuously watching the things about the incidents which are availability or non-availability will be known. Networking, all these things are important. In every layer, everyone has to perform. NIDS is network IDS. Network IDS means intruder detection system. It's alerting system basically in the network. IPS, intrusion prevention system. This is another tool basically which will help you to alert or even to block, okay, a type of attacks which happen. Firewalls, anti-DDoS. DDoS, as they again explained, distributed denial of service. Okay, yeah, DNSSEC, OAuth is nothing but open authentication. So these are some of the tools which control layers which help in the networking. Like even you can see this ROTs and APIs also in computation storage. Your HIDS is host-based IDS. Like here I spoke about network-based intruder detection system, host-based intruder prevention system. You have encryption, you have masking, etc., etc. If you say speak up in the physical, you don't have much. You have only the CCTV, because this also play a very important role, especially in the cloud. The physical plant security and guards, etc., also play a very important. So it is necessary for any cloud security provider and also for the administrator to understand. Suppose I am deploying an application, I have to follow these things. I am doing some management concept, like I am doing some patch. Who is going to do what? Whether it is the service provider or whether it is me. I mean, me means the customer. We need to share the responsibilities, especially the configuration management. We need to do that. Networking, who is going to do? I'm going to do. I means I want to deploy a private cloud. So I need to deploy a IDS, okay, a firewall, or maybe like what we call is a monitoring, something like that. I need to provide. This is completely my responsibility. Without these, all these things, if we run just like that, there can be a chance of many times hacking. But definitely, if you deploy the top running resources like AWS or Azure or maybe Oracle Cloud, they had, even without your knowledge, they have deployed many layers, many controls also. But again, the user data, completely, the customer is only responsible. Like encryption, or we spoke about host-based IDS, or everything we need to take care. This much amount of knowledge is minimum required, especially for all the cloud administrators. Okay, so these are all the best practices one should understand. One should understand practices means that whenever we are deploying some kind of elements or some kind of activities inside the cloud, we need to take these things into responsibility. Assess the risk. Okay, if you are placing the data, software or anything, assess the risk. If something happens, then how would you really respond? So deployment models. Auditing is very essential. Auditing is, I mean, auditing is nothing but verifying all your activities from time to time periodically. And again, see that if there are any security gaps, and establish proper incident detection. If there is any failure across, don't neglect like that. Just report, just go through and prepare a plan, prepare a complete plan, whether it can be what we call as a brainstorming session or anything like that. Please sit across, work across, and provide a good and accurate plan. So analyze what are all the security objectives for the organization. It should align that. So these are all most important things, especially the best practices. I'm just briefing about all the activities. So this is just a summary. And yes, these are some of the pictures, snapshots, especially for vulnerable management like this. You can see one is maybe Qualsys. I was showing you a screenshot. You see these are the vulnerabilities of various levels. You see levels, red is critical. You have to take immediate action. Orange, okay, maybe if not today, now, maybe in very soon, maybe within next 1 day or 2 days. Okay, orange. The other things, informational, okay, it's okay. It's you may or may not take up any action immediately or even next 3 months also. It is only a reporting. So accordingly, by the status, how many of them are there? These are all tools which are available. Only one needs to sit across and see what are all the alerts which are coming. See, this is the ticket number, this is your IP address hosting, so and so across. It will take care everything. It will take care everything. So these are the terminology which I have used inside the today's discussion, especially wherever it's applicable. PKI is public key infrastructure, WAF is web application firewall, IAM, DLP. I spoke about IP, IPS. I spoke antivirus, VPN is virtual private network, load balancer, DDoS, TPM is trusted platform module, ENC is encryption, RTC is real traffic grabber. So this is for your information. Yeah. So this is end of my theoretical presentation. Now I'm focusing about this AWS services. Okay, this is AWS services, which contains many number of services today. AWS is considered as #1 in the cloud industry. I wanted to go show you something, a demonstration, especially in this AWS. So AWS is coming up with a number of services from time to time. These are some of the basic services and application services which are shown across the screen. A service means, what is the cloud? A service which is deployed remotely if you are accessing, whether it's a database or a networking or a storage or a compute or even data sciences, or even today, if I tell you, you have various kind of application services also, various kind, whether it is gaming or data sciences or maybe IoT or even anything. So these things, whenever you are able to access remotely from your system or from your location, this is called as a cloud, and these are called as services. Yeah, so in my now walkthrough follows, this is basically I will be showing you, I'll be focusing on AWS Inspector. So this is basically tells you about the vulnerability management. This is one of the service which has been hosted across. I will just walk through this particular one, and if time permits, then I may go through this IAM, but I'll be focusing on the vulnerability assessment in Inspector, right? So yes. Any questions from anyone? Maybe I'll take up these questions also at right time. Right time. Also, you can park your questions. So, as part of the, the workshop, today's, program, what I want to is that this is already I have logged into the AWS, AWS account. So this is my account, and also I have created a Linux server. So most of you are aware of, I think, about the AWS services. See, I have a Linux server also with me, You see here, a server which is already created. It is running on a public IP, so and so. I can also connect to my public IP. I'll show you just, this is my console. This is my console. Now, what I'm going to do, I have also created a vulnerability for your information. Okay, I have also created a vulnerability. So this, but but I want to see that whether my system is really having any problems running across. So what is that vulnerability? I'll tell you. In the security, I have added a port called as number 23. You see this one? This is vulnerable. This is, and I have given public access. You see this one 0000/0 means public access. Please watch. If there are any questions, you can raise your hand or ask me. So I have already created a vulnerability. This should not be given, first of all, especially in the cloud environment. We can only give port number 22, that too to the relevant IPs only, not for the public, especially in the production environment or even your development environment. So now I want to figure out this vulnerability. So normally, if you are having about 10 servers or 15 servers or 100 servers running across, how will you figure out which one is having what? Not only that, this I have shown you that there is a vulnerability. Now I will also tell you how you can do this particular activity of vulnerability testing. Okay. So like I am duplicating this session. I'll take up this service called as inspector. I'll take up this service called as inspector, right? This one. This is a security service. You can also see the service in security. Where is the security and compliance? This inspector service will be there, especially for vulnerability assessment. So what I do, I can also say inspector, Amazon inspector, continual vulnerability, management at site. You can do for the entire network of servers, etc. Okay, entire network services, etc. Or even to a single system also. Single system also. So what I am going to do, this is my dashboard of AWS Inspector. Amazon Inspector enables you to analyze the behavior of AWS resources and helps you to potential any security issues. Okay, before I do, let me check whether I have tagged the system or not. I want to just tag. Okay, I have already given a tag as a Linux server. You can see this and a true value. Okay, so just tag the server. It is easy sometimes when you tag a server. The name of the server I have tagged is Linux and it is true. Okay, so this is my Linux server. This is my inspector. I want to figure out now what is this. I want to figure out that this server is having some vulnerability. I want to go through, I want to run. So first thing what I need to know is that in this server, I will be deploying a vulnerability agent. Okay, agent, you see this? You see this? This is agent and then run. And then once I run, I'll get a report of the analysis. I get the report of the analysis. I can even download those things, right? So this is the aspect I'm going to show you. Even everyone, all of you can do that. So here, welcome to Network Amazon Inspector. Assessment checks your security exposures and vulnerabilities in your EC2. The presentation which I had, I have spoken much about the security issues, especially the vulnerabilities. Now I want to run this particular one. So whether I want to do it now or run once, run advanced setup, I just say cancel. I go to the dashboard. This is my dashboard. So I define the targets first. I have three steps here. First is targets and I deploy the template and then I run, right? So what is my target? My target is my Linux server where the tag I have given as Linux and true, right? So anyone is having question, you can always raise your hand or unmute and ask me the question straight away. So I'm going to set up the target now. I'm going to set up the target. I say create. I can give any name. Maybe this is assessment target, right? Anand, I can say, TGT. I'm defining the target. Okay. I'm giving any name. So include EC2 instance of your account and region. Otherwise, I'll select the target. I'll select the target based on the tagging which I have done. I have tagged this particular one. I use this tag. Install agents inspector on the EC2 instances in this assessment. Yes. So this one, once you define the targets, it will automatically, you can ask, okay, if it is already installed, it's okay. If not, install the agent. Agent will start communicating between your EC2 and your vulnerability scanner. So I just save this one. I'm not doing anything else. I'm just saving this one. Okay, it is successful. You see the message successful. This is successful. The first part is done. So first part, I have defined the target. Now, let me proceed with these templates. Okay, I don't have any template here. I'm going to define. See, I have defined the targets, but now I also need to define what type of scan I need to perform. I need to perform. So that is called as a template. If you want to run without template, no, it is not possible. So I create a template. So here I may provide this Anand. I can say Anand TEMP or something like the template, right? Template. Any name is okay. So targets already I have defined earlier. So that is Anand TGT. I'm specifying that. So now the rules. So what type of scanning you want to perform? Please remember, this is most important. Network reachability, security best practices, CVE, common vulnerabilities and exploits, exposures, or CS, operating system security configuration benchmarks. I want to do about the network reachability. Okay. So duration every 10 minutes, 1 hour, 15 minutes, what do you want? Okay, 1 hour, I'm leaving it. I'm not going to say anything. And also, I can also create a topic. I can also create a topic. So I can, but I'm not creating a topic. This means that if I create a topic, you'll get an alarm or maybe your SMS on your mobile phone or an email, etc., something like that. Okay. So now I'll also add, okay, Linux, and this is true. This is true. So it automatically selects the server. That is only the one server which is there, which I have tagged. Right. So now set up and recurring assignments every 7 days. No, I don't want every recurring. I want only just to run now. Okay, the first run now. Now. So yes, I have deployed everything. Again, I show you. I have given the target name. I'm defining this is a network reachability test. So which will scan all your TCP ports, UDP ports, etc. And then it will report if there are any vulnerabilities reported across. If you want software testing, you can do the kind of softwares because here I don't have any softwares. So I may not be able to do anything kind of softwares here. Okay. So I'll say that create and run. Create and run. So it has taken that. You can see this assessment has started now. Okay. So this is your template. Collecting the data. You can see this particular one. Collecting the data. You can try to refresh this one. Analyzing. So you will see once the data is successful, last one, still it is analyzing. Okay. You will get a report in assessment runs, but this should be successful. Still it is analyzing the data. Yeah, analysis is complete. You can see this analysis is complete. Or you can even go through this particular one. Analysis is complete. The target name is Anand TGT. I'll just see the runs. No result. Okay, there are results. You can see here, when I select this, there are 4 findings. I hope everyone is able to understand what I'm saying. If anyone asks questions also, I'm ready to explain. So the output of vulnerability assessment is a report. I can download this report now. Okay. You want a full report? Yes, full report. So only the findings. Okay, full report I want, PDF. So it has already figured out 4 findings here. You see this one. 4 findings are there. I just downloaded. Result, download, full report, generate report. That is successful report. Yeah. Yeah, this is the detailed report of this particular one, Amazon Inspector Assessment Report. My suggestion at a later stage, whenever you get an opportunity, you create some vulnerabilities, or even if you are deploying some websites or something, you can try to run this kind of inspector reports. Okay, so what is that? Let us now, this is also one of the biggest one which we need to learn, analysis. So normally, the security administrators in a team, what they do a kind of penetration testing. Penetration testing, the first part is vulnerability assessment, I tell you. First part is vulnerability assessment. The second part is to have a deep dive on what they get the information. So now they have this information now. Now they sit along with the team and figure out why this errors has come. You see this one? The rules are like this. In this Linux, we asked for one server EC2 tags Linux and true. So it has figured out that there is one instance called as if I say 3838F2, is this the instance? Yeah, this is 838F2, absolutely. So now let us go through a little bit. Finding summary, you see this one? This is the findings. So it has figured out that there is one finding, okay, port number 22 SSH is reachable from internet. So people may often say, is port number 22 often reachable from internet is a vulnerability? Yes, it is a vulnerability. It is a vulnerability. So anything for port number 22 SSH, even though it is secure, what you need to do, you need to specify only one particular IP, not for public. If it is a public, then it is a vulnerability. Port number 23 telnet is reachable from internet. Okay, it is also very dangerous. This is only severity 1. Like I'll tell you, the findings of reachability port number 22, port number 23. Uh, yeah, you can see here, these are the findings. Yeah, These are the 4 findings you can see here. You can click that, you can see this one. See, there are colored also. If you are watching carefully, there is one colored with high red. What is that red? See this one? This is nothing but, this is nothing but port number 23 is associated with telnet. Okay, means that it is a high vulnerability, means that you have to take action immediately. You have to take action immediately. Otherwise, there can be a potential damage. Attacks can happen. So let me go through the other one. Medium. You see, this is a medium alert. It's not critical. This is high. High means high critical are very, very dangerous to the system. It's not healthy. So here what I do, so when I see what is this medium alert? What is this medium? So here he mentions that medium is on this instance TCP/22 is associated with SSH and is reachable via internet. Oh, so what you can do, recommendation, you can edit the security group to remove access. So without access, how can we access this internet? I mean, port number 22. Rather than that, what you can say is you can only restrict all the public. You can say that only selected IPs can be given. I'll show you how to remedy also. Okay, and this is low. Low and informational need not be worried much. No, not much worried. So often we need to take up actions for critical and high immediately, even at a later stage medium. So this is the findings which is there. So I'm just teaching you how you can understand this, what we call as the findings. Now I have figured out from the report. Okay, there is one instance and I have done a scan report and it contains this particular one. So in the security, what I do now, I edit this. I figured out that there is 23 port which we should not do. Okay, I edit this. I edit inbound rules. See this one? I want to remove port number 23. I'll delete this. Just say save this rule. Fantastic. Fantastic. Now, let me again do a scan. So this is my earlier scan, which I could see 4 findings, right? So you see this one in assessment runs. Earlier I had 4 findings that was done at 3:49. What I do, again I run. Again I run for this template. I select this template. Once more again I run. So this time I should not get high. I should not get high. Okay. So I'll run this template once again. Assessment has started. You see collecting data within a minute's time, because there's only one server, it will do it very fast. If there are collection of about 50 servers, then it will take maybe 2 to 3 hours also. So it is collecting the data, analyzing, try to refresh. Yeah. Analysis complete. So analysis complete. Let me see the findings or assessment runs. So here I ran one at 3:49 and I ran another one at 3:55. So I want to see the findings. To say that, you see there are 3 findings only. Earlier there were only 4. So now it is 3 findings. What you can say, you can just ask what are the 3 findings which are there. So here you have a medium, you have a low, and you have informational. There is no high. So this TCP port is not, I mean, which is open across internet. So I also want to basically reduce this one medium also, because it's not showing good for me. As a security administrator, we need to basically eliminate all this kind of findings. So how do I eliminate this one? In inbound rules, in edit inbound. Okay. So instead of saying SSH, all, I can say only my IP, only my IP. That's all. Save rules. Still, I can see I can access my servers. You can see this one, not this. So I can still access my server. You can see here. So I can access my server. It is still running, etc. So I have given only access to inbound to only one of my system. You see this one, only my IP, only my IP. So what I can do, I will try to rerun once again. Try to rerun. So here I say I select this and once again I run. Normally for our requirement 0000 is okay actually, but if I want to eliminate everything. So you can sit along with the team of security administrators and do a kind of performance report. Even decisions also, we can involve management. What type of decisions? We have figured out a report. So this is the analysis. This is the findings. So what should I do? Can I do this one? Okay. Create a change request, get it approved. Yeah, analysis is done. You can see now, this 357. Still there are 3 findings. Let me check. There is medium. Still, I think, which is accessible. He means that this okay, which is accessible via internet. It's okay. That's what he means to say. We can take up steps accordingly. All right. So this is how we manage the vulnerability analysis. Here again, I'm replacing back with anywhere, save rules. Is this clear about this AWS inspector? Anyone wants to ask any questions? Like that, you can modify your templates, you can add servers, you can do a kind of scannings, etc. In this particular exercise. So if you are comfortable, then we can delete all these things which are there, because this is also very important. We cannot keep just like that, because it will run every 1 hour, because we have defined already in the template. So I just will delete that. So automatically assessment. Any runs which are being done, I have shown you even the download of the instances also. So this is the first one which I want to do. This is the findings. Yeah, I have shown you all the findings also. This can be submitted across to the network, team, quality team or network management team, and figure out for a good, healthy solutions like this. This is only a sample which we have done. This is only a sample. Yeah. So the next one, which I wanted to show you a walkthrough, because I was told that if to give a walkthrough on all the servers. So you can see this, that will be interesting for all of you. So yes, I have already created an EC2. I have already created an EC2 on behalf of you. Okay. So now I want to just share something which is called as IAM. Some of you aware of this one, even in the presentation also, I have spoken about this IAM. So IAM is available in security, that is one of the identity and access management. Okay, so the best practices in IAM is to have MFA access also. MFA is multi-factor authentication. So yes, I just show you this. Where is this IAM? It's not here. I can write it here in the search bar, IAM. I just open this one. What I'm going to teach you is that, see, I have an instance here. I have already logged in, you see. Okay. Also, I'll show you, I'll duplicate this one. Um, yeah, this is your IAM. See, here you have user groups, users. You also know about these roles and policies. So these are the important elements inside your access management. So here I want to open another service called as S3. S3. So some users, a Linux user wants to, the requirement is something like a particular server users wants to access this bucket. So there are some documentation also. I created the bucket and also I have uploaded some files. If you want to upload one file, yes, you can upload another file. I'll just show you how to upload a file in the bucket. Very simple. Maybe one of the file. I am uploading this. Yeah. Now users from EC2 needs to access those files. How do they do? Normally, what they do is that they have to basically get the credentials like access key and what we call as secret access key. All these things should be provided to that AWS configure and then access accordingly. Rather than that, you can also provide a role. See, the policy is like this policy. You can create an access policy and then you can tell that. See, if you see these policies, there are 1051 policies are there, permissions. 1051 policies are there. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a role. So my objective is that, see, I'm going in a little bit hurry basically because the time is the constraint for me to demonstrate. So my objective is that See, whoever is accessing here, like sorry, if I say AWS S3 LS, am I able to see this particular one? No. So here, if I say AWS configure, it is asking to say AWS configure. Okay, if I do that, it will ask first of all, what is your access key? What is your secret access key? What is your region name? And a lot of questions like that. Once if you successfully configure, then only, but who will provide? The administrator has to provide. So for how many users they are going to provide? It's a very tough job for. So now, like as I mentioned, like if I say AWS has 3 LS, I can't, but there are buckets also. How do I manage that? So what I can do, I can create a role. I can create a role and map it to the account. So a role which I need for EC2, for EC2. So what is that role which requires access to S3, which requires access to S3. So S3 full access I wanted to give as a demonstration. Okay, say next, say next. You see this is the JSON template here. You are allowing the EC2 to S3 also here. Right. So this is the permission which I have given. So the role name, I can give EC2 S3 access. I'm giving something name. Just remember EC2 S3 access. Absolutely. If you want tags, you can and create a role. Create a role. Absolutely. The role is getting created. See this blue color? Yeah, once the role is created, you should get a green color success. It is done. And also, you see this? EC2 S3 access role has been created. Fantastic. So now let me also show you. Let me duplicate this, or maybe go back to your EC2 dashboard. Go back to your EC2 dashboard. You see this one. So I'll map this role to this instance. This is all administrator needs to do. If administrator is proper in any organization, that organization will have hats off. I tell you, will run properly without any security issues. So here I take this server. Okay, I map that what we call a security, modify this role. I attach this role EC2 S3 access which I have created now. So just update that role. Role. Role is very advantageous. So now it is mapped now. Now you see the result. You see the result now. So if the same command, if I see here now, you should be able to see the buckets. You should be, yes, I'm able to see my buckets. Maybe if you can see this ls s3 column 3010, you could also see the contents of the bucket. Yeah, you can see this particular one, teammate.txt file is there. Suppose you want to download that file, you can do that. AWS S3 CP S3 column, I mean 3010. That is my bucket name, and slash teammate dot maybe anything IRDAR or anything, any file which is there, like this file, anything. I just copy paste to dot your current location. It downloads that file. Yes, it has downloaded successfully, and you can see that file in my local system. Like that. You can even upload access like that. So that is an indication that this role mapping is one of the biggest advantage. Once anyone is accessing a particular resource, from that resource itself they can access. No need to give extra privileges. No need to give, as long as they are able to access this particular one. Is this clear, everyone? So this is about IAM. This is about IAM. I just wanted to demonstrate this role. Otherwise, you can always create, sorry, not this. Otherwise, you can always create an IAM user and then modify, give assignments, and also take a privileges. I'll show you how much you need to do. So create a user, add user. So username, I can say user one, something like that. Provide access users to access management console. No. So get this, I mean, copy this, attach policies. Yeah, I want to attach this policy. Which policy? S3 access. So this is one access which I want to. Okay, I can select whatever is the access which I want. So I have selected. Just say create a user. Yeah, the user is created now. The user is created now. You see, right? So select this user, and you can go to security credentials. How how to access this security credentials? Access key. You can create an access key for him. So he is going to use command line interface. Yes, and say I understand, and say next. This is a very lengthy one, I tell you. And just say create an access key. So you see here, this is the access key. This is the secret access key here. You can ask this one. Just a show. You can get this one. Once, otherwise you can download this CSV file and open this and modify your server and provide access like that. For user one only, it can be accessed accordingly, not for all the users. This way, everyone, all the users can make use of the role, IAM role. Yeah, any questions from anyone? So I have just given an hour's time of presentation and also about 45 minutes time approximately for defining this AWS security related topics, that is AWS inspector and also what we call as this IAM. Yeah, if there are any specific questions, yes, I can really answer and help you out. That's all is my today's presentation of 1 hour 45 minutes approximately. Yes, please. Any questions? I'm ready to answer related to AWS security or anything related to security also, or even AWS also. Yeah, yes, please. If there are no questions, I just want to thank everyone, whoever is there in this particular meeting, and also the management, and also Mega Club, and also the force behind this Mega Club, and also especially our Dean sir and also Naresh sir.
Sir, Anand sir, do you want us to unmute people who have doubts so that they can speak to you and ask their doubts, or
Absolutely,
do you
absolutely.
want people?
Anything is okay now. My presentation is over.
Okay, sir. So I am unmuting Lokesh 31385. He wants to ask a doubt.
Okay, one by one. Yes, anyway, can ask. Yes, please. Yes, Lokesh. You wants to ask something? Yes, you can please ask. Everyone. Oh, it's open for all, but one by one, people can ask the questions.
Lokesh, you are unmuted. You can ask. No?
Yes, yes. Yes, Lokesh.
Yes, sir. Vendor lock-ins are the major problem in the cloud computing, and how do we fix that in these days?
Once again, I missed the first half of the question.
The vendor lock-ins are the major challenge uh, that facing for the cloud providers and cloud consumers, and how can we fix that, and how can we avoid the problem? Uh,
See, I tell you, vendors means that the way we take the support, like which type of vendors we need to know. Are we taking the softwares or the applications from the marketplace, or are we customizing from ourselves, or are we bringing our own licenses? It matters. If we are bringing our own licenses, that CYOL, then we need to take up the responsibility of doing. The first thing what you can really understand, whether it is Amazon or Azure, there are inbuilt what we call as vulnerability packages. Like one is Inspector for AWS, which I have shown you. That is, I have demonstrated this network vulnerability management, but there are various other options also. Like that, in the open market, you can buy licenses from, like as I mentioned in between, like whether it is Accunetics or Nessus, or can be even a burp suit also. Burp suit also, some of you might have heard about that, which is an web vulnerability scanner. Okay, you can deploy that license and then you can do that. This is another method. Okay, so like that, no sir, free tools may not give accurate measurements. Once you get the vulnerability analysis report, you have to sit along with the security team and provide a plan. You need to report to the management, basically, first of all, I mean the customer stakeholders. Once you define all these steps, and then you can take up action accordingly. First thing is that whenever you figure out any vulnerabilities, needs to be escalated immediately. So that the entire security team understands, including the stakeholders and management, and what steps you are going to take. So these things are very, very essential. So normally any administrator, security administrators can do this kind of tasks at any point of time. I hope you got the answer, or still anything question, you can still ask me.
So I think that's all about today's meeting, sir. That's a very appreciative and discerning session led by you, Anand, sir. Sir, it is to mention that you are very omniscient and a very down-to-earth person. You made the session and the lecture very productive by sharing real-time examples and all the use cases that are easily understandable. All the concepts from cloud security providers and cloud service providers and containers, especially from cloud security and computing threats. Scanning tools are very immersive, sir. We have got a good understanding. The tools like Docker scan and things, etc., are very useful for identifying the vulnerabilities. And the cloud security control layers that you explained gave a quick glance with the security systems and the concepts, sir. It is to convey our thanks to you, sir. You have made very good session, and here is Suhita to carry on with the meeting. Suhita, you can take over.
The
Okay.
Mega Club is extremely thankful to Anand Ketuvarpu sir for accepting our invite and spending your valuable time with us and sharing your powerful insights with us. We are really honored by your presence, sir. It's the Mega Club's day today with this enlightening session by a cerebral person with a scholarly knowledge on the cloud security. The club has putting up its promise with its fruitful sessions, and it's the same again with this well-organized and illuminating session by Anand sir. Many, many thanks to you, sir. The 2 hour session that you delivered to us will be very useful to the students ranging from the academics to many cloud security projects. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you everyone, and bye from my side. Thank you.
All the attendees, thank you for attending the session from the Mega Club. We are delighted to have you here, and that's all for the day. You can leave now.
Thank you for